On this 1945 map, the Allied machine pushes deep into the Third Reich. But as forces advance, unpredictable geographic gaps fracture the front lines, especially down here in the mountainous terrain near the Austrian border. Nestled inside one of those chaotic gaps is a stone fortress called Castle Itter, sitting precariously on a sheer cliffside in the Austrian Alps. The dying days of a massive conflict are intensely dangerous. As centralized command structures break down, they leave behind power vacuums. Heavily armed, rogue factions are suddenly free to operate entirely without oversight. Inside that fortress was a bizarre collection of high-profile French prisoners. The Third Reich was holding military generals and politicians, alongside civilians like Jean Barotra, a world-renowned tennis star. Outside the castle walls, heavily armed fanatical SS troops were massing in the surrounding tree line. Their orders were clear: execute every high-value prisoner before the war officially came to an end. The prisoners had no weapons, and the official Allied front line was miles away. A standard rescue mission simply couldn't reach them in time. Help arrived in the form of two completely unexpected commanders, pulling up just ahead of the SS. One was a lone American tank commander, Captain Jack Lee. The other was a defecting German Wehrmacht officer, Major Josef Gangl. These two men, wearing the uniforms of opposing nations, holstered their weapons. Facing a mutual slaughter, they agreed to a desperate temporary truce. Fortifying the ancient stone ramparts required awkward, immediate logistics. American GIs and German soldiers physically worked side by side, passing each other heavy crates of ammunition and stacking sandbags along the walls. Men who had spent years ideologically programmed and trained to kill one another had to instantaneously build unbreakable trust. Their survival depended entirely on relying on their sworn enemy. The siege initiated with a barrage of heavy muzzle flashes erupting from the dark tree line. As we can see in this technical photograph, the SS held an overwhelming firepower advantage. They deployed heavy anti-tank artillery directly against the castle walls, aiming massive 88mm guns at the medieval stone. Within minutes, an 88mm shell scored a direct hit on the main gate. It completely destroyed the sole American Sherman tank, named Besotten Jenny, that had been anchoring the defense. Without their only piece of heavy armor, the defenders were stripped of their primary tactical asset. What started as a fortified holdout instantly degraded into a desperate minute-by-minute struggle to stay alive. The defensive perimeter quickly collapsed inward as the desperate men burned through their final meager reserves of ammunition. Attempting to pull a French politician out of the line of fire, Major Gangl was struck by an SS sniper's tracer round, killing him instantly. The situation was terminal. Their radio was destroyed, a commanding officer was dead, and the bullets were gone. The only remaining strategic option was a physical run through enemy lines to locate approaching Allied reinforcements. Jean Barotra volunteered. The French tennis star vaulted the back wall, dropping into the thick, hostile forest, and used his athletic speed to sprint directly through the SS positions. Hardened American infantry and German veterans were now completely relying on the physical endurance of a civilian athlete to keep them alive. Back at the castle, the SS initiated their final lethal push, charging the main gate with shoulder-fired rocket launchers. But before they could breach the walls, a massive column of American armor and infantry shattered the tree line. Barotra had successfully guided the reinforcements to the exact coordinates. Facing this sudden arrival of heavy artillery, the SS attackers dropped their weapons and fled back into the Austrian woods. The defenders had held their ground just long enough. The precise last-second arrival of the relief column validated their desperate gamble. As the smoke finally cleared, a surreal scene settled over the courtyard. Exhausted American and German soldiers sat side by side, catching their breath against the same bullet-scarred stone. This anomaly left a definitive mark on the historical record. It remains the only documented instance in World War II where American and German troops fought together in combat. The Battle of Castle Itter stands as an incredible historical paradox. Even amid the bloody ruins of a devastating global conflict, the drive to protect defenseless people briefly forged a unified front out of the bitterest of enemies.